Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. Tom Moreland joins us from Purdue Athletics, and Tom has been here for 9 months?
So good question.
Okay. Tell me how long you've been here, because I always say 6 months is a year. I mean, I lose track of time, so go ahead.
First official day, Purdue versus IU in football last year.
So
We
you've
go
been here
win
a
the
year,
bucket,
man.
go to a bowl game,
Yeah.
so almost a year. And then we all know the win streak that Coach Painter's program went on then. So for about 2.5 months, I didn't see a loss in football or in men's basketball.
So are you inferring you had something to do with that?
No, absolutely not. but I remind Mike Babinski as much as I possibly can that I was part of that. Yeah.
What, and your background growing up in Milwaukee, but also the opportunity, you went to the University of Iowa. We'll talk to you a little bit about the Hawkeyes, but what attracted you about Purdue, and what, when you've got here, now that you've been here 11 months plus, what do you find about Purdue and West Lafayette that's really intriguing, and maybe how it compares to where you've been?
Good question. The first thing I would probably say, Alan, is who you work with and for. I mean, that's absolutely everything. So, who you work for. If you take a look at Purdue University, even step outside of the athletic circle, we have a tremendous board of trustees. It starts with Mike Burkhoff, Klipsch being our athletics administration representation, and then it goes down to President Mitch Daniels. And so the point I'm trying to make is you go from Burkhoff to Mitch, then our athletics director and Mike Babinski, and our deputy AD and Jason Beatty-Kofer. We have tremendous alignment. And I don't think that's really something you can take for granted. Those people are great to work for. They make work fun every day. Now, they challenge us and they hold us accountable, but having the opportunity to come to Purdue and work for people like that, I mean, for me and my family, that's something we just could not turn down. And then I think the with aspect, we have tremendous coaches at Purdue in all of our sports. A lot of people know about Coach Painter. A lot of people know about Coach Versip and Coach Brom and some of our other coaches. But all of our head coaches, they're first-class people, and I love working with them every day. And then really the last piece, West Lafayette community. Some similarities to Iowa City, also some differences, but my wife and I, we love it. We live, what I tell people, we live about 4 blocks from Ross-Ade Stadium.
Yeah.
So we are all in on Purdue. Even though my alma mater is coming here this weekend, we are absolutely all in on Purdue right now.
And I want to ask you, just because you've been around the program and talk about excellent coaches, and Kirk Ferentz is in that category, certainly. You look at Iowa and why, just from a standpoint of a guy that's been able to weather some storms. I mean, it goes up and down, but he has continually brought that program back to a very high level. In your time, what have you witnessed about his makeup that makes him successful in that light?
I don't want to talk too much about Kirk in Iowa. Obviously, Jeff and the Boilermakers where we're focused, but Kirk, tremendous character. He's an incredible person, great leader, truly cares about his players. And what I also say is unique about Kirk and his program as it reflects to Purdue, he really cares about the whole institution. Yeah. And I think that's been on display on a national level, the great things going on at Purdue. Yeah. Obviously your next guest is a little bit more popular than me right now. He's making a great impact here. You see those things at Purdue on a daily basis, but I think the media is finally starting to pick up on that. But Kirk, that's really what he stands for. Great character, cares about his players, cares about the institution. But I would say all those things about Coach Brom as well. Yeah. Truly cares about his players. Yeah,
and that's a big factor, obviously, being able not only to do that, but also to make sure that somehow that everybody kind of knows it without being too forward. I mean, I think that both those guys have a little bit of that personality where they don't want to get too much credit for what they do, but they do it, the quiet things that make a huge difference.
They are. I think, operating behind the scenes, I think the assistant coaches, those play a huge role. At Kirk's program, a lot of consistency. Yeah. His strength conditioning coach, Chris Doyle's been there a long time. Yeah. I think our strength conditioning coach for football, Justin Lovett, I think he's one of the very best in the country. So I think the people you surround yourself with, and Coach Brom has clearly done a very good job of that, those are going to impact the success that a head coach has. So I think there's some consistencies and similarities there when you look at the way Purdue runs their football program and the way that Iowa does as well.
Have you had a workout with Justin Lovett? I mean, you look like you could do some of that kind of stuff, but I mean, that guy, just walking into the weight room, you're inspired to do something.
Well, I don't know about getting a workout with Justin Lovett, and I feel like somebody prepped you at this question.
No, they did not.
Really?
Full disclosure, I like to throw one out there. No.
So about 8 weeks ago, and our deputy athletic director, Jason Wiedekoper, is going to laugh when he watches this. About 8 weeks ago, maybe 3 months ago, we started working out twice a week in the Football Performance Center. So we work out with Coach Reno, who's our associate strength and conditioning coach. And I'll tell you what, I thought I was fit. After going through those workouts, which are nothing like the football team's workouts. I mean, I am on the floor, I'm sweating, I'm begging for Gatorade. But those guys really, they put us through a tough workout and we enjoy it.
How long, I mean, is it more high-intensity stuff?
Well,
or is
everything feels like high intensity to me, Alan.
Yeah.
We go for about an hour. Feels like 3.
Yeah.
And he just tortures us for 60 minutes. And I think Reno absolutely loves it.
I think there's a certain thing with those guys that they have to like that part of it.
Yeah, I think our head football coach a time or two, and maybe some of our assistant coaches have peeked their head in the weight room and watched us being tortured by Coach Reno. But, we love it.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
What I would say, Alan, is that's another unique thing about Purdue. It's very much a family atmosphere. We don't take that for granted. Not at every school can you walk into a football performance center like ours, where our strength and conditioning coach will accommodate his schedule so he can work out 2 out-of-shape guys. So we don't take it for granted.
Yeah, that's a good thing and a good habit that you're into, to say the least. I don't know that I want a part of that, but I'd like to think that I'd last maybe 5 to 8 minutes on that whole deal. But, all right, now your day job, which is obviously you take very, very seriously, but what's your focus in terms of, and that's a very broad question, but when you come in and look at, and you came in here and said, hey, we need to maximize what's been your main focus so far in terms of your role in making sure this is strategically in line with everything that's going on?
So I think it's really 3 core principles, and then how are we lining up our strategy. And so I'll just touch on one of our core principles. We want our student athletes to have the absolute very best experience. And for them to do that, we have to have the resources necessary. So the majority of my time is spent on the external side of the house, and that's generating resources. And really the main areas, Alan, ticket sales, corporate partners, merchandise, licensing, and then I help out a little bit with some of our premium seating. And then a guy well, Ben Kuhlman, who does a great job in annual giving, I'll help out a little bit there. So me coming in about a year ago, first thing I saw, great people. We have people who work hard, they're thoughtful, and they really care about Purdue. But to really take us to the next level, which is what Mike and Jason wants to do, is how can we all work together just a little bit more? When maybe a member from our development staff is looking at how can we sell tickets a little bit better, or we have a member of our ticket sales staff that's helping our annual giving staff, or maybe it's our merchandise staff in the Purdue team store. How are they helping all those areas? The thing that we try to preach at Purdue is we may not have the most people, but we're going to have great strategy and great work ethic. And when all of us work together, Alan, I firmly believe we can beat anybody in this conference. So that's really my main focus, is getting all those groups to see where we can help each other and be the very best that we can be.
Have you been, in terms of ticket numbers, obviously Purdue's second sellout of the season tomorrow against Iowa. From a strategy standpoint, has it been a challenge to get everybody lined up? Or, I mean, you obviously have got a good football program, and even before you got here, there was some energy there. What have you had to try to do to be able to bring that to fruition and get to the level? And are you there yet? I mean, or do you have still more from a foundational standpoint to get done?
Yeah, so I'll answer the back part of your question first. We want to sell out every game, right? We want to sell out every football game, men's basketball game, women's basketball game. We want all of our sports to have great attendance. So we're there yet? Absolutely not. I think one of the areas that we had to really work through is our season ticket holders. So we acquired about 6,000 new season tickets this year. Really a tremendous accomplishment, and not just my area. Our marketing team does a phenomenal job. Creative services do a good job, and all those areas working together, that's how we're able to go to about 20,000 season tickets. So that's our base right now. We need to grow that number every single year so that we have sellouts on a regular basis. One of the big focuses for that, Alan, is this community here in the greater Lafayette area. We want people to think about buying Purdue season tickets, but then also the community in Indianapolis. When somebody comes to Indianapolis, whether they're an alum or not, we want them to think really hard about buying season tickets to our football program and all of our other programs as well. So we're getting to Indianapolis on a pretty regular basis. We actually had a meeting yesterday about all the different events that we're trying to attend. So and when you look at October, I think we were there about 5 or 6 times. Fast forward in November, we're there about 2 or 3. We want to be there on a consistent basis, so when Purdue is in Indianapolis, all those people say, well, yeah, it makes sense for Purdue to be here. This is Indy is close to Purdue. It's only an hour away. We go to games. So that's definitely a top priority.
Yeah. And events, not just Purdue-related events, but are you talking about other Indianapolis-type events? What other things are you focusing on? I mean, I know that Matt Painter and Sharon Versip were down there last week. You had the Cranor dinner 3 or 4 weeks ago. Are there other ways that you infiltrate, or are they more Purdue-directed events that are down there?
I'd say mostly Purdue-directed, but let's just build as many relationships as we can. So, for example, you said earlier, this Saturday's game sold out against Iowa. We've got a really cool initiative for this game. We've called it the Ag Game, and that's to really build our relationships with the entire ag community. We have one of the very best agriculture departments in all of higher education. They do great research, so we're working together to engage that community. So how can we do that in Indianapolis? It's not necessarily just Purdue events, but maybe it's something at Topgolf. We did that with the John Purdue Club last year.
Right.
Just really trying to build as many relationships as possible.
Yeah. You look at, and I always ask people about what's the toughest thing in your job? What's the thing that you have to focus on personally to do your job the best to the best ability that you can? What's that one thing or two things that you focus on?
That's a great
It's
question.
not a job interview. You might think it is, but
Yeah.
it's not, so it's all right.
Well, I love my job.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question to answer. What I would say, the toughest thing also probably has to be the most rewarding. We want to develop our people.
Yeah.
We have a lot of young people that work for us. A lot of people where maybe this is their first or second job, might be their first opportunity in college athletics. So how do we grow and develop them so they can step into a position like mine someday? What I tell people is, I started from the bottom.
Yeah.
I was the events person in a fundraising office at the University of Iowa. Little cubicle in the corner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people really helped me along the way. So that's something I take seriously. So it's a challenge because you're trying to do all those normal things to put Purdue in a position to be successful. But for about the 45 to 50 staff that I oversee and lead, we're trying to develop them every day so they grow in their careers. And that's something we take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, and that's an absolute necessity as you grow any organization. All right, when you look at the fact that social media and its role, and I think you guys have done a really good job of trying to maximize that at all levels, and it's changed so much. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we really weren't talking about it was out there, but we weren't figuring out how to harness it. What have you learned about the best initiatives and the way to harness Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all the way on down the line?
So what I'm going to tell you in November 2018 is going to be very different come May of 2019. It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So that'd be the first thing. We have a great communication staff.
Yeah.
A lot of people are familiar with a lot of those people. Basketball season, Chris Foreman.
Yeah.
He does a phenomenal job. The reason why Chris does such a good job is he's constantly changing his approach.
Yeah.
He's looking for feedback. So I'd say the number one thing with social media, let's continue to try to improve on a regular basis. Let's be flexible. In social media, you're not going to have your foundational principles like you do in other things. If you try to compare social media to the principles of fundraising, they're going to stay the same.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating relationships, building relationships. Social media is changing regularly, so we need to be flexible. And the thing I would say, Alan, is let's focus our time on the areas that make the biggest impact. And I've learned that from our staff.
Yeah.
I would not consider myself a social media expert at all, but they've shown me the things that really matter. So let's focus our time on those things, let's measure those things, and let's continue to improve on them on a regular basis. Because that social media world, it's changing quickly, it's vast, so we got to be flexible and we got to be able to adapt. How
do you balance that? Because there's obviously so much attention on football and men's basketball, but you've got 18 sports and you've got, like you said, accomplished coaches all the way on down the line. And yet there isn't as much revenue to be had by women's swimming, for example. But what's your philosophy and how do you balance that effort and what you can bring to the table to create interest in those programs as well?
That's a good question. So Chris Pellidout, who oversees our creative services, and then our communications team, they do a great job. And what they do is they work with our coaches on a regular basis. So I'll give you a specific example. You look at the Purdue women's soccer program. They did an awesome deal this year that was a day-in-the-life experience of one of our soccer players. And they thought that was important for people to understand that program. So we need to take those types of scenarios, ask our coaches, ask our programs, what's truly important. And let's focus our time on that, because if everything's a priority, and you know this, if everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. And we don't necessarily have a staff where everything can be a priority. And it's like I said a few moments ago, other programs, other athletics departments, they may have more people. That's fine. But I feel our people work incredibly hard. They're incredibly talented. And when we create an infrastructure around them to focus their time on those impactful areas, we will surpass all those programs. And I feel like in all of our different external areas, we do an incredible job.
Yeah, you have a chance, obviously, and maybe the last question is just on have a chance to maximize football and all that talk that's gone on since the Ohio State game, and some of it's before. How do you view that and how it resonates through the entire department? How do you maximize that, and how have you worked to maximize just all the talk and all the publicity that's come from a social media standpoint to major media? How has that played out? How have you taken that football and run with it?
That's a great question. Before we wrap up, I have one request to make.
Yeah.
Not now, but I'm going to do it at
Okay.
the end.
All right.
Be prepared for success.
Yeah.
So Kirk Herbstreit had a great quote at the end of the Purdue football game versus Ohio State.
Yeah.
These people were ready to win the game.
Yeah.
We had the fireworks set up. We had everything queued up to win that game.
Yeah.
So to answer your question directly, let's be prepared to have success.
Yeah.
We're going to be prepared for when Coach Versup's team goes to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be prepared when Paint and his crew go to the Final Four. When Jeff takes his team to the Rose Bowl. When Waz takes his team to the College World Series. We're going to be prepared for that. So we're always proactive. We're not going to be reactive. And I think sometimes our staff, they got to take a step back and think, okay, here are the things I'm working on now, but what if this changes? What if we go on a great run in men's basketball? What if we go on a great run in women's basketball? Let's be prepared for that success.
Good advice, and I'll keep that. I'll write that down as we come into the office every Monday. That's a good thing to remind. So what was your thing? Is that what you wanted to
No,
discuss?
I got a request.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
So we have a lot of staff at Purdue.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask for somebody to be on the show.
Yeah.
So Brian Fordyce.
Oh yeah, I love Brian.
Brian's our director of ticket operations. Our fans love him.
Oh yeah.
He heard I was coming on here today.
And he said
how do I get on that show?
he can be. Well, he may not be on next week because he's probably. Does he travel?
No.
I don't know. Brian hooks me up, and he helps us out so many times.
Great customer
All right,
service.
Brian will be on before you know it. Maybe even next week.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, because I love ticket guys, and I've been in it a little bit longer than you in terms of going back to my background. Started in tickets at West Virginia University of all places, and there's nothing like good ticket guys. He's got a lot more personality than most.
He's one of the funniest people you ever meet.
All right, good. Maybe we can do a little stand-up here on the show. So,
All
right, Tom, thanks so much for your time. I enjoyed it and getting to know you a little bit, and we will look forward to and what should be an exciting game tomorrow, and it's going to be a beautiful day in Ross City. It's going to be the quintessential, mid-fall day, I would think, weather-wise, and a Purdue victory would go a long way to making what will probably be a very, very exciting November. Thanks again for your time, and we'll take a 2-minute break and get Tyler Trent on the phone and look forward to speaking with him as well as we wrap up our last segment on Gold and Black Live.